Hello, good afternoon. It is the afternoon. I'm still a head teacher with ADHD, and it's Saturday and the weekend. But this morning I went to Oban to get these new glasses, and hope you like them. Which means that I'm making the video on Saturday afternoon, which in itself is causing me a bit of anxiety. And the other thing is that on the way back from Oban, I met a friend and went for a coffee, which was absolutely lovely, but also caused a bit of anxiety because in my head, I was going to come back from Oban, do some jobs, and do like some work this afternoon. And now that hasn't happened. And I suppose that's just a bit of just saying that tends to be the experience for me of I work really hard in the week and that's fine and it's all adrenaline and buzz, and then the weekends should be downtime, but actually a lot of the weekends are still just trying to catch up on things. I think a lot of headship is like that. A lot of head teachers work ridiculously long hours and it's fine and it goes with the job. And I'm a new head teacher, so I think there's a lot to do now, which is kind of front loading so that things get easier in a year's time. But if I'm honest, if it was easier in a year's time, I still think my brain would be finding me more things to do. So that's the bit that can be quite hard. And it's a very physical sense of sort of anxiety and panic that I get when things don't go to plan and when I don't engage in things that I feel that other people are going to see as productive, or if I don't work and then something goes wrong next week, then it's like my fault, even though actually it's not, because I do deserve a weekend. Well, that was a massively long sentence without a breath. Anyway, been having some therapy recently and been doing some work on that kind of being able to rest without feeling horrifically guilty. I think a lot of what I experience is a lot to do with being a teacher and a head teacher. I increasingly wonder how many teachers and head teachers have ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD, or given it's a spectrum, many of the elements of ADHD that make them successful, but then also aware that these videos possibly sometimes aren't the most coherent, and therefore from a viewer point of view that might not be make them particularly watchable. I watch a lot of Jessica McCabe, who is a fantastic, much younger woman with ADHD, and she has millions of followers and is just brilliant. But I have noticed that her videos are much more curated, and there are obvious breaks in them where she goes back and re-records, and I don't do that because for me, this is about kind of seeing what ADHD in a 53-year-old woman who is a head teacher and has a family and commitments and is me is actually like. And maybe that's a bit selfish and boring and solipsistic, but actually, the other bit of it is that I know that a lot of my experience is older women with ADHD. um, this week's been really busy, as always. Lots of challenges, lots of positives, lots of feelings of one day they're going to catch me out. That's the week. I'm feeling a little bit flat and a little bit. I'm just tired. It's not flat. I'm really tired. Really, really, really tired because it is pretty relentless. So I do, and that's the danger, is that I get tired and then I don't rest. So the other thing today as well is I took, I'm on medication, but I took different medication yesterday, and that's kind of made me feel not great as well. So I think that's something worth acknowledging. Um, and really, I think that what I need to try and do is keep working on the things around the kind of being able to relax and finding things that bring me joy, and not feeling that kind of constant sense of, oh, if I haven't worked, then everything's going to be a disaster. So a little bit of that today. Um, what else? Yeah, not a lot else apart from new glasses, and been doing a lot of singing every morning as per my therapist's instructions, doing some singing, which is great. And I totally feel when I do that, I feel just alive and a buzz, and So that's amazing. And um, yeah, I guess that's it really. And oh, there's a massive long pause. See, that's my brain working. Um, I've just really enjoyed teaching a couple of classes and engaging with the young people and the families, and yeah, and some nice positive feedback. Um, and I think the last thing I want to say is, more than ever, I'm just aware of that quote that says it takes a village to raise a child, wherever it came from, whichever iteration of it you want to use. And I do think that um, more than ever that is true. And I think when we talk about children's rights and adults as duty bearers, um, we very much need all of the adults in children's lives to be working together. And I think that what can be really difficult in school communities is understandably every parent um, wants the absolute best for their child, and who wouldn't, and that's absolutely right. But actually, sometimes I think we need to be able to speak to the parents of our community or the carers of our community in general and say, yeah, there is that balance though, that, you know, all of us adults are like a team that are supporting all of those children. And I totally get the fact that your first and foremost instinct is your own child. But I think what I've experienced is when things work best, it's when communities really understand one another and the complexities of perhaps other families who are different to theirs, and I think that's lovely and positive, it just it's so true though, that village thing, and that, you know, if someone's struggling, then we pick them up, and that's in terms of the children, but also the adults too. And I wrote a story a few years back about swallows, when it was during the pandemic, um, and I think, yeah, again, I just keep coming back to that, is sometimes we have wobbles as adults, and it's important to acknowledge that and to ask for help. But also, children are children and they're learning. And again, I'll come back to somebody, um, an event I went to a few years back, who said, you know, the greatest joy of being a teacher is working with the other adults to help them learn from their mistakes. And I just think that's so powerful, because it's particularly at times of pressure like we're under at the moment, it's very easy to go into that kind of blame culture. Oh, it was someone else's child, or it was someone else's fault, or it was, you know. And actually, what's magic is when you work with families and they say, "Yeah, I get it. You know, they're all children and they're all making mistakes." And a child who on one day um, is doing all the things we want them to do, the next day might be a bit tired and hungry and makes a mistake and doesn't get it right, and that's fine, and we all just move on. Um, so that's that. And I suppose as adults as well, we want that approach. However, there is a difference between the adults who have taken on the responsibility of caring for children and the children, because the children are young and vulnerable and haven't chosen. And I think, to me, it's always that thing of the children haven't chosen, whereas the adults do have choices. And much of it can be hard. And look at me. There's things about me that I would love to choose to do differently, but because of ADHD, I struggle. But I think the important thing is to be honest and say, right, here's my areas of struggle. Yeah, maths, um, writing a letter or an email that doesn't have a date mistake in it, um, getting massively overexcited about things, tempering my expectations. Um, so saying that I find those things hard is fine, and as long as they're not repeatedly causing difficulty or not allowing other people to do their jobs and getting in the way of children learning, then I think it's fine. And I think that's the same with any adult that's got the huge privilege of working with children. So there we go, a lot there, and a lot of waffle and a lot of randomness. But yeah, tired. I'm going to go and do an hour's work. Have talked for nearly 10 minutes. That's how it rolls today. Take care, stay well, stay safe. If you possibly think you might have ADHD, um, get it checked out. Yeah, I'm just going to say there's quite a few people that I know that are glad they have, even though they might be old and have learned bad habits for many years, it's worth knowing. And particularly if you have a child that you are suspicious, just ask the questions, be curious, because the sooner you know, the sooner you can start building healthy habits and understand and not get into this feeling of it must just be me that's wrong, awful. Yes, so there we go. Stay well, stay safe, and lots of love.